and submit to her written book reports, which she couldn't read, but we didn't know that. And she would put little check marks and highlights. And, you know, I didn't like it very much, but a funny thing happened as I started reading those books. I was looking at words all the time, so I learned how to spell. I wasn't the first one to sit down in the spelling bee. And then I had to put those words together, so I learned grammar and syntax. And then I had to take those syntheses and make them the concepts, so you learn to use your imagination and to become a creative person. And my grades just zoomed. And in the space of a year and a half, I went from the bottom of the class to the top of the class, much to the consternation of all those people who used to tease me, call me names. And the same students who used to laugh at me and call me names in the 5th grade were coming to me in the 7th grade saying, Benny, how do you work this problem? And I'd say, sit at my feet, youngster, while I instruct you. And I was perhaps a little obnoxious, but you know what? When you think about the human brain, I mean, it is the most fabulous organ system in the universe. And we have one. If you have a normal brain, there are very few things that you can't do if you put your mind to it. Case in point, how many people here remember your birthday? Let me just see your hand. Okay, it's almost unanimous. And almost instantly. But what did your brain have to do for you to respond to that question? First of all, the sound waves had to leave my lips, travel through the air, enter your external auditory meatus, travel down to your tympanic membrane, set up a vibratory force, which traveled across the ossicles of the middle ear to the oval and round middle 7-foot vibratory force in the endolimb, which mechanically distorted the microcilia, converting mechanical energy to electrical energy, which traveled across the cochlear nerve to the cochlear nucleus at the pontomedullary junction, from there to the superior olivary nucleus, ascending bilaterally up the brainstem to the lamina meniscus and inferior collectors, median to nuclei, to the viral radiation. I was just getting started, but see if you can get one of those rap singers to do that. But you know, if you can do all of this, and you barely even have to think about it, what is the human brain capable of when you actually put your mind to doing something? And I'm going to tell you something. We were made in the image of God. And God is no dummy. And He gave us these sophisticated brains with these big frontal lobes for a reason. Frontal lobe is where you engage in rational thought processing. We're the creatures that have the ability to extract information from the past and the present, integrate it into a plan and project it into the future, which means we can plan and strategize, which means we don't have to be victims and we don't have to just react. If you look at animals, the parts of the brain that deal with just reaction, brainstem and midbrain, are much better developed, and the frontal lobes are not well developed. Animals are very good at reacting to things. The problem is that a lot of people act like animals, and they just react to things rather than using those frontal lobes in order to create what needs to be done. And this is what we're going to have to do now in order to extract ourselves from the difficulties that we're in right now. For instance, look at our national debt. $18.5 trillion. Thomas Jefferson said it's immoral to pass debt to the next generation. If we could bring him forward to today, he would stroke out immediately. He wouldn't even be able to fathom what we are doing to the next generation. If you tried to pay $18.5 trillion off at $10 million a day, it would take you more than 5,000 years. And this is a problem. And it's actually worse than that, because when you look at all the unfunded liabilities versus the amount of money that we have coming in, you're talking about a fiscal gap of over $200 trillion. And it is those kinds of debt and the policies that are destroying the economy and destroying the future for those who are coming behind us. But that's why we have these grants, so we can figure out how to get it moving again. For instance, there's over $2.1 trillion overseas. We can bring that money back. We have the highest corporate tax rates in the developed world. That's why it's not coming back. 6-month hiatus in the corporate tax rate to let that money be brought back, with the only stipulation being that 10% of it has to be used in enterprise zones and to create jobs for people who are on welfare and unemployed. You want to talk about a stimulus? That would be the biggest stimulus since FDR's New Deal, and it wouldn't cost the taxpayers one penny. That's low-hanging fruit. That's the kind of thing that we need to do. But here's the good thing about that. It starts business, industry, thinking once again about what they used to do, and that is to invest in the communities around them. Because you see, when we, the private sector, business, industry, academia, Wall Street, churches, community groups, when we invest in our fellow citizens, we do it in a way that's effective, that brings people out of poverty. When the government does it, they do it in a way that keeps people dependent upon them. And this is what we don't want. You know, so many people have said, well, Carson was poor, and you know, he must have had some government assistance, and now he wants to take away all of the programs from everybody. That's a bunch of crap. You know, that's stuff that the left wing loves to you know, put that kind of propaganda out because they don't want their base to listen to what you're really saying. But the kind of thing that I am saying is I want to create a ladder of opportunity that allows people to climb up from a state of dependency and become part of the fabric of success in America. That's what America is all about. And every one of you can play a role in helping to restore this nation. I want you to recognize what we're up against here. Let me just give you an example. If I were in charge of this nation and I wanted to destroy it, let me tell you what I would do. I would drive wedges between all the people. I would create so much friction and so much hatred. I would have the Democrats hating the Republicans and the Republicans hating the Democrats. I would want nobody to talk to each other, and I would set up all kinds of barriers between people. And then I would destabilize the financial foundation by driving the debt to unsustainable levels. I would be inviting people in here from other countries, giving them all kinds of benefits. I would be trying to get the people in this country on welfare, on food stamps, on everything I could get them on. I'd be giving them free phones. I'd be telling people that you can go to college for free. And I would just drive that thing to unsustainable levels. And then I would destroy the military. And I would destroy the morale. I would have the smallest Navy since 1917, the smallest Air Force since 1940. I would have a sequester that cut the heart personnel out. Lieutenant colonels and majors, captains, sending them letters saying you need not reapply. The morale would be so low that generals would be retiring early. I would be telling the veterans how wonderful they are, but it would do nothing to improve the situation for them, so that 22 a day would be committing suicide. I would do nothing to strengthen and harden our electrical grid, which leaves us extremely vulnerable to all kinds of attacks. And these are the things that I would do. Any resemblance to what's going on, I'm sure, is coincidental. have some idea of what it is that we're up against. Here's what you can do. In 2012, 93 million Americans who could have voted did not vote. 25 to 30 million evangelicals who could have voted did not vote. You know some of those people. I hope none of you are some of those people. They're in your sphere of influence. You need to talk to them. Talk to Uncle Joe, who doesn't like to do anything except drink all day long. And tell him that if he doesn't get his butt in gear and get out there and vote, there may be no beer. And go and see your grandmother, who's in a convalescent center, who can't get out to vote. Make sure she has an absentee ballot. And you go and you help her fill it out if you need to do that. If everybody here gets 3 people who didn't vote before to vote this time, we will be able to do what was designed for this country. And that was for the people to determine the direction of the country. This country is of, for, and by the people. The government is there just to facilitate. Okay? And you know, it was Thomas Jefferson who I think said it best. He said the people of America would become less vigilant. They would stop paying attention to what was going on. And as a result of that, the government would grow and infiltrate and dominate. But he said just before we turned into something else, the people of America would recognize what was going on, would rise up and take control. Now is the time to do it. Thank you.